بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings be unto you. I have read from chapter number 96, from verse number 1 to verse number 7. And it reads, read in the name of the Lord who created man from the cloud. Read, and the Lord is the most generous, who teaches man that which he knew not. It was Monday night, August 10, year 610 after Christ, when Muhammad the Prophet was secluding himself on the mountain in one of the caves. It's called Hira Cave. When those 3 or 4 verses has come to him after seeing and watching Archangel Jibreel coming to him materialistically, he sees him by his eyes and he asks him to read. This was the first word to be introduced to Islam. Read in the name of the Lord who created man from a cloud. After receiving that, he started to interject with Archangel Jibreel that I'm not a believer. How can I read I'm not a believer? So Jibreel continues to repeat the same words. Prophet Muhammad was extremely terrified because it's first time for him to see Archangel Jibreel and in that world. So he trembled, and by tremble and shiver, he came back to his wife. Prophet Muhammad at that time was 40 years old, and his wife was 55 years old, and her name was Khadija. And he only asked her one thing: please wrap me up. Please wrap me up. Please wrap me up. He was extremely nervous, whatever he has seen on the mountain. So then, after getting some rest, your wife started to support him and assist him by a nice verse telling him, "Oh Muhammad, from now on, you are a different person. You will see the revelation now." Then Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings be unto him, started to disseminate Islam to the people in so many different ways. Today, we will unlock some of the journeys of knowledge seeking with Prophet Muhammad and Islam. And I'm actually very blessed to have you this morning. And we go together and we communicate together. I actually got each and every question that you already wrote it to me. Thank you very much. This is a new addition to it, and also new addition to our community. Thank you so much. We have Brother Ahmed, who is going to introduce a little bit about Islam.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ahmed. I'm a senior at Oxford High School. How many people over here are seniors? All juniors. All juniors? Okay, great. I'll be talking today about the 5 pillars of Islam, and those are basically like the pillars of a building. They are what raise our faith and keep us standing. So the first pillar we have is Prophetic, which is also the Declaration of Faith. The Declaration of Faith is basically, it basically states that every Muslim believes that there is only one God, the same God that Christians and Jews have, and that Muhammad is his messenger and prophet. And in order to be a Muslim, you have to believe in this statement, because Islam, like, that's what it's about, believing in one God and his prophet. The second pillar we have is Salah, which is also prayer. We pray 5 times a day. The first time is at dawn, and the second time it's noon. And afternoon, we got a prayer at afternoon, and then at sunset, and then at night. So they're equally spread out across the day. And I like to think of prayer in Islam as basically recharging your day. So you wake up every morning and you recharge your day with the dawn prayer, and then after that at noon and across all the prayers. And in the prayer, you're basically thanking God. It's your connection with God, and you're encouraged to talk to God about all your problems, everything, like whatever it is. If you're happy about something, if you're sad about something, you don't know what to do. God is your connection. Like, you are encouraged to speak with Him during the prayer, and all your problems, you will be relieved. Third pillar is zakat, which is also charity. Charity, every Muslim has to pay charity if they are able to. So once you hit a certain limit, which is like a specific amount of grams of gold converted to dollars. I believe right now the amount of grams is about $6,000, and $6,000 when converted to dollars. And if you have that in your bank account and it's been sitting there for 1 year, which indicates like stability. So you have to have money and it's stable in your bank account. That's when you're eligible to pay zakat, and it's 2.5% of that amount. So this goes to the poor and people who are not living in the same conditions as yourself. So by paying this charity, you're giving to people in need, and it increases your faith. The fourth pillar is Saum, or also fasting. So I'm pretty sure most of y'all have heard of Ramadan. It's the month that we fast for 30 days. We wake up at dawn and eat and pray, and then after that we fast until the prayer that is at sunset. So it's usually from around 5-6 a.m. till sunset, which is 6 or 7 p.m. 6, 7. In the month of Ramadan, we fast in order to feel for the people who can't eat. That's part of it, but not the main thing. The main thing is it's viewed as a month of purification. All the sins that you've been doing for the past year, when it comes to Ramadan, it's that time of the year where you can repent, and you're encouraged to improve your relationship with God and turn back to God, basically. The fifth pillar is Hajj, which is also a pilgrimage. Every Muslim is encouraged to go to Mecca, or is required to go to Mecca if they are able to. If you have the money to do so, and you don't have any events that are important, like something where you can't miss work or something. So if you are able to, you're encouraged, or you're required to go to pilgrimage in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. There are actions that you perform around the Kaaba. So you spin around the Kaaba, you spin around the Kaaba 7 times, and there are many activities that you do there that it's also like purification of the soul of the mind. You're increasing your connection with God, and same as what I said for fasting, like just building that connection and increasing your faith. That's all. That's the 5 pillars of Islam, and that's what what every Muslim is required to do in order to keep their faith and be a Muslim. That's all. Does anybody have any questions?
When is Ramadan next?
Ramadan is in February, mid-February to mid-March. And it's based on the lunar calendar, so it changes, every year it changes, so it's never the same. Because for the lunar calendar, it could sometimes be in September, sometimes it's in February. Like a period of years, it could be in summer, and another period of years could be in winter, so it's always changing. It's based on the lunar calendar.
I would ask, what do prayers look like throughout the day? When, if you're in different places, whether like at work or at school, what do the prayers look like throughout the day?
So for me, I was in high school. What I do is that I pray in the morning. That's the dawn prayer every day. And sometimes I wake up and go to the Masjid and pray over here around 5 to 6 a.m. And then I start my day. And then the prayer at noon, that's around lunch at my school. So I just find a corner in the library and pray there. And it's kind of like you're meeting with God every day. So you try to frame your day around the prayers and not the prayers around your day. And if for like excruciating circumstances you cannot pray, you are to make it up later when you can. So sometimes if I'm unable to pray at school for the noon prayer, I delay that until after I get home, which isn't favorable, but sometimes you're busy to the extent you cannot pray, so you're allowed to make it up later.
Right. It's great. Thank you.
I'm really sorry. Can you please keep the questions to the end of the session? First, we'll start the session with some presentations from brothers and sisters, and then we will open up the questions. We have a lot of questions actually to answer. And also, we expect some other questions also that you might question in the Q&A session. Okay. Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you.
I would like to start with the Islamic greeting. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. My name is Huda Ahmed. I am a postdoc research associate at the Pharmacy School, University of Mississippi. Do you need that? So the title of my talk today is Faith and Quran. Ahmed already explained the 5 pillars of Islam. 5 pillars of Islam is the foundation, are the foundations of our religion. And it's act of worship. But this act of worship is deeply connected with faith. So we say 5 pillars. Deeply connected with faith. So what is faith in Islam? So the belief that is inside our hearts. So we have 6 pillars for this faith. Started with the belief in Allah, one God. So this is the first thing that comes. You need that believe in decree or the divine decree. Divine decree means, or as we call it in Islam, qadar, decree that we believe everything is happening to us is well, Allah made it for us. Is it good or it seems bad? We believe in both of them. What is good and what seems bad. Because it's not actually bad. It happened for a reason for us. So decree, good, and speaking of books. So our book named Quran. Quran. So Quran is the words of Allah. Is the source of our religion. So it contains many things, and all these things interconnected together. Law and legislation. So as it is the source of our religion, is it only law and legislation? No, it's not only that. Many things. Like the stories of the past nations and messengers. Messengers and prophets. Why is mentioned in the Quran? It teaches us lessons. So every time we hear to a lesson of our previous messenger, previous story, previous nation, all of this give us lessons to teach us. What else? In Quran, you can find scientific science that was revealed more than 1,100 years ago, when there is no microscope, there was no ultrasound, the Prophet Muhammad was living in a desert. So how these scientific facts present in the Quran, and we still discover it right now. So, scientific. Sometimes we consider this scientific science as a miracle. When we see the description of the fetus, the infant in the stomach or in the womb of the woman, starting from a cell to become a child or complete infant ready to deliver, the description precisely described as there was ultrasound right there in the desert. So who described this? It's only Allah. So everything in the Quran is proving that this is the word of Allah. No one invented, no one made it up. And also, Quran is the only book that is preserved since it came. We have only one version. And not only that, millions of people around the world, not only Arab people, memorize the Quran from the first word to the last. And you can find a child which is 12 years old memorizing the whole Quran. How is that? Sometimes in other people who don't speak English, they also memorize Quran. So how is that? So Allah made it easy for people, even if they don't speak the language, they memorize it and they feel it in their heart. So, moreover, the recent law legislation, stories of the prophets, scientific science also reflect on human rights. Human rights, the woman rights inside the Quran. We have a whole chapter in the Quran speaking only about women. Our treat is we not to bully, not to be arrogant, to justice, to treat other people nicely, to be kind. All of this is described in a very well precise verses in the Quran and Surah as well. So what else we can find in the Quran? Telling about the future scene in the hereafter when we die. So, day of judgment. And the scenes from the hereafter in the paradise or the hellfire. So we have a full description of what will happen next in the other life after this. Okay, now, let's really think, use our brain to think about Quran. Now, I want you to use your heart. What we gain spiritually from Quran. Number one, it's a guide. And it's really like that. It's a guide that enlightens your way, brightens your way. It's not only that, it's here. In the Quran, you found here from all of your problems. Try to have any problem and just go to the Quran, listen, or read, or understand, or find a story from the previous people, the past nations, that you feel that Quran is like harmony with them. So you find tranquility. And of course, you find peace. And the most beautiful thing about Quran, it's your companion. When there is no one around you. When you feel alone, Quran is there. I want to end, so it's a companion. So, I want to end my talk with something beautiful that I heard when I was a child. If you want to talk to Allah, obey. If you want Allah talks to you, read Quran. And thank you. Any questions? And you have any questions?
Good morning, everyone. First, I want to thank the teachers for bringing students to visit our mosque. Thank the teachers. Yes, please. Okay. So, and also I want to thank Dr. Van for inviting me to come speak with you today. So, my name is Amina, and I'm actually from here in Mississippi, born and raised in the Delta. You guys famous the Delta? Okay. So, born and raised in the Delta, graduated from Riverside High School, graduated from Jackson State University, and I grew up in a typical Black African American Christian home. My journey to Islam began young, in a simple but very powerful way. As a child, my mother would play Malcolm X speeches in the park as she drove me to school. You guys familiar with who Malcolm X was? Okay. So, Malcolm would often talk about his journey to Mecca. And prior to his assassination, he talked about in his autobiography how he was amazed that while he was on his pilgrimage in Mecca in Saudi Arabia, how he met Muslims who were from all walks of life. Muslims with blonde hair and blue eyes from Europe. He talked about how he met Muslims from Asia, from Japan and China. And he also talked about how he met Muslims from Africa, from Nigeria, or wherever on the continent of So my mother would play these speeches in the car. And eventually, after I grew up, so that a seed was planted when my mother would listen. But at that age, of course, I can't say I really understood everything that he was saying, but something did stay with me. And eventually, I reverted and embraced Islam more than 20 years ago. And after I reverted to Islam, I had the opportunity to travel to so many different countries and live in a few of those countries like Egypt. I lived in Saudi Arabia, and I also live in the United Arab Emirates. And most people assume that I became Muslim because I lived in these countries, but actually it's the other way around. I traveled to these countries because I am Muslim, and I wanted to experience the wider Muslim world and live amongst other Muslims. And so those experiences didn't guide me into Islam. They actually strengthened what I already had in my heart. Um, so, um, so I had everything planned what I wanted to say, but so I'm just gonna just talk. So also I just want to mention that Islam is a religion that it honors women, and it protects our right to education, it protects our right to property, it protects our rights to dignity and safety. Globally, the media shows that Islam oppresses women, but this is not the case. Islam actually empowers us in so many different ways, and it uplifts us, it never lowers us. So this is who I am. I'm Amina. As I said, from the Delta. I'm actually a CEO of a cybersecurity company. And yeah, that's my journey to Islam.
Peace of Allah. Now we'll be having Q&A session. Actually, I was one of the questions for you guys. But actually, I can even take my journey to answer those questions. I just say like 10 hours. I'd like just go over those questions and actually pretend the question himself. First, question is about faith. What is the Islamic view of the beginning of the world? Okay, our base, which is the Quran, it talked about the beginning of the world. Okay, but it didn't tackle that question specifically. I would say I didn't, for example, talk about the Big Bang. Okay, or talk about how was the structure of the earth and the firmament, the civil firmament started. The Quran, dear respected brothers and sisters, didn't eliminate the discourse to mention things in science that science will cover later on. Okay, so it talks about for example, how Allah structured the seven firmaments and the seven earth. Okay, and then it talks about some of the greatest conclusion, but it didn't talk about about those topics brilliantly. First, the Quran as a discourse, it unlocks the journey for the Muslims or for humans in general afterwards to start to think and ponder and reflect. Okay? So if you have everything about anything in this world, already qualified and put into a book, so your mind will not actually start Okay, so there is a great space in the Quran that talks about perfection. It talks about minding things around you and not to take anything for granted around you. So that space that the Quran has created for everybody to think about it is intended. Okay, that's why it did talk about the beginning of the world, but in some short and very epitomized, verses, not eliminating discourse about this one. Okay, second question: do Muslims believe Allah is authoritative? No, Muslims don't believe that Allah is authoritative, but rather we think and we reflect and we consider Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as our main support and our chain of assistance, the chain of guidance. Okay, so we are not incarnating Allah in one of our positions or one of our roles that we actually like. Okay, he is like my father or like my mother, or he is like my like so and so or like so and so. The Quran ends this comparison and say that none is like he is not like anybody and nobody is like him. Okay, so because we as humans we tend to always to compare according to our own mentality, our own characteristics, our own qualities. But Allah is not under our own human qualification, our own human description. He must Allah must be somebody who is helping and assisting all humans, regardless of their own faith, regardless of their own religion, regardless of their own tendencies. So he is all complete. Okay. Number three, how did you come to this faith? And okay, I was actually born into a Muslim family. And it doesn't mean that they have compelled me to be a Muslim, but they have taught me about Islam, they taught me about other faith. Okay, so having the teachings about your own religion is an imperative. It's an imperative on you and also on your parents also. In order to have affiliation to a thing, in order to be committed to a thing, you have to know. What you should be committed for. So I have been actually graduated from Al-Azhar University in Cairo. Al-Azhar University in Cairo is teaching scholastic teachings and also secular teachings. Same like the vision of your school. You actually remind me of my university back home, and you have very good English actually, and you are very distinguished. Next question: do Muslims spread the word about the faith? Yes. Okay, but we have to differentiate between propagation or preaching and teaching. Okay, we Muslims we are ordered by Allah in the Quran and also in the Prophet's tradition to disseminate the knowledge to others. Okay, to teach others rather to preach them. There is a difference between teaching and preaching. What we are doing now is not teaching, is teaching. Okay? You should intend to know more about Islam, and you come to us and to visit us so that you know more about Islam. The same also applies to me. If I have anything regarding Christianity, so I'm going to talk to the pastors in churches so that I can get clarification. Okay, so this is a very good thing that we actually understand about each other, and also we know about one another. How many different factions are there in Islam? Okay, let me tell you that Islam actually accepts disagreement. Okay, to the utmost. This is one of the main powers of Islam. this is not about elimination of Islam. Well, but this is actually an power within the religion itself. So disagreements happen since the day Muhammad as prophet has lived. Okay, so disagreements happen in politics. Disagreements happen in the core of Islam itself. Okay, not against the law of Islam, not against the main structure of Islam, but within the main details and the main structure of Islam itself. This actually makes Islam strong. I would say that in terms of politics, for example, we have Sunni and Shia. Okay, this is a very political trend within Islam. Although it might even have some other things related to the tradition itself, but basically it started since it started in the last years in the first century as a political trend, and then turns away from being a political to be something else. About the traditional schools of law, we have four accredited traditional schools of law. Okay, and those schools of law, each and every school is having its own tradition and is having its own authenticity in terms of whatever the jurisdiction might bring to Muslims. And not only four, we have also other secular four, okay, that actually sprang out of the first four. This was actually a very good question. Also, how do Islamic teachings promote peace? Okay, actually, the meaning of Islam means surrender. Okay, so Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says in the Quran more often, Islam is to surrender yourself to the will of Allah. You surrender yourself to the will of Allah. So if you surrender yourself to the will of Allah, so you are having this self-surrender, which actually brings peace. So the first thing that a Muslim says to anybody around him, Assalamu alaikum, which is here on the board. So Assalamu alaikum means peace be unto you. Okay, this is actually the greeting that a Muslim says to another. Okay, and just imagine that if Muslims they have whatever disagreements, whatever thing that they might have, and they say Assalamu alaikum to his brother or sister, things must actually rule after that. So is the Islam tradition strict? Yes, it is very strict. It is very strict and lenient and flexible at the same time. Okay. Again, we have the boundaries of Islam, which is the 5 pillars of Islam, and the 6th article of faith. The 5 pillars of Islam, the Brother Ahmed has introduced, and the 6th pillar of faith, the Sister Huda has introduced already. Okay, so those are the main boundaries of what Islam is. Okay, so and those this is actually the strictest tune that the Muslim, if any kind of violation is done against those 5 plus 6. Okay, so it's out of course of that. But there is a great space within Islam as well, within even the legislature of Islam. Okay, to think and ponder and reflect and agree and disagree, and also to emancipate some views and to also remove some others. How do Muslims pray? Okay, can please do us a little for yes. You can take it.
First you say Allah Akbar, which means God is the greatest. And then you start reciting some of the Quran. You start So you start with the first surah in the Quran, or the last one, because it's from the left to the right, not from the right to the left. And then after that, you a short couple of verses, and then you nod after that, and then you raise up again. pray, we face the Qibla, which is the Kaaba in Mecca in Saudi Arabia. So this direction is directly facing Saudi Arabia. And all Muslims, when they pray, they face that same direction, and it just kind of represents unity, and we're all praying towards the same thing in the same.
Thank you so much. How has social media influenced Islam so much? Social media, I would say like it is a lot related to this things, whatever like you use, whatever the kind of resources you use, or your own subscription, your own influence with others. Some you use it in the right way, and some other you misuse it in the wrong way. So anyways, it is actually a human right, more than like that. But anyway, it impacts Islam so much, and it impacts Muslims so much. It actually delivers the voices of Muslims around the world, in a very easy and convenient way. And that's why actually in the past 15 years, Muslims and Islam has developed its own, its own campaign to know and to be known to others in a very good way. Before that, actually, civilizations, they had their own strategies and their own rules and their own restrictions also. So, anyways, social media actually influenced us in a very good way. How 4 or 5 pillars of Islam impacts the Muslims? Yeah, it impacts Muslims so much. Just imagine that you are praying 5 daily prayers, and it is flexible in time and also flexible in place. You don't have to come to the Masjid here each and every time. Although we have a criminal obligation to come to the Masjid at least, once a day or something. So we have this kind of commitment, which is a prayer on a daily basis, and also once it comes, for example, to paying a charity in Islam is an obligation. This is another monetary obligation. Making fasting is another body and healthy habit that we actually require. It's not actually it is not on the children. I mean, those actually 5 pillars of Islam is for us to be an obligation on each and every individual from 12 years old up. Okay, I mean like for adults so it's not for the minors. Although minors can even like start even to practice somehow, but it is an obligation on people to do so. Okay, how often ever do people go to Mecca? Why? Going to Mecca is one of the spiritual journeys in Islam, and it is highly encouraged, but it's highly encouraged for people who can afford it. Because it costs a lot of money, it costs a lot of effort, and some people they might have the money, but they might not have the effort. They cannot actually, they cannot give it to anybody and to do it on their own behalf. This is highly restricted, although it is allowed, but it is highly restricted. You have to do it yourself. So you have to have the ability, and you have to have the ability to do it. We are only asked by obligation if you afford it, you can do it once in your life. But if you would like to do it more, it's good. But it is an obligation to do once in your life as long as you afford it. Yeah, what does fasting Ramadan look like? Fasting Ramadan is an abstinence of food and drink and sexual intercourse from